You're listening to the Health Courage Collective podcast, episode 49, Sleep is Not a Pillar of Health. Welcome to the Health Courage Collective podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that a few minutes of focused attention now can prevent years of suffering in the future. I'm your host, Christina Hackett, a pharmacist who doesn't want you to live on prescriptions, a certified coach specifically trained to maximize your potential, and a compulsive learner obsessed with preventative, cutting-edge, holistic, and integrative medicine. I'm on a mission to increase your physical and mental resilience so you can fearlessly look forward to your next 40-plus limitless years. Your time is now. Let's go. Hello, my friend. How has your week been? I hope you've been doing great. Have you made any lucrative investments this past week? I hope so. Getting dividends now and knowing your capital is compounding is so fun and encouraging. Today, we're going to talk about how sleep is not one of the pillars of health. What would you say the pillars of health are? Exercise? Eating healthfully? Hopefully, if you've been here a while, you know that breathing is a pillar of health. Those are usually the main ones people mention. In my Health Courage Collective program, I include focus as one of the pillars. If you'd like to work personally with me to co-design your behavior so that you consistently rock those fundamentals and get the results that matter to you, click the link in the show notes and get in on the awesomeness. Sometimes a little direction and a lot of direct accountability can make a big difference. But back to our original question. Do you think sleep is one of the pillars of health? I hope you'd say yes, but the reason the title of this episode is that it's not is from a quote by sleep researcher Dr. Matthew Walker, PhD. He's a neuroscientist and a current professor at UC Berkeley, former professor at Harvard. He has spent decades studying the power of sleep. He wrote a very famous book called Why We Sleep. Back when my family had a masterclass subscription, I watched his masterclass on sleep, and it was really good. It was basically just him explaining the stuff from his book to the camera, but still, I liked it. Anyhow, here's an awesome quote from his book. I was once fond of saying, sleep is the third pillar of good health, alongside diet and exercise. I have since changed my tune. Sleep is more than a pillar. It is the foundation on which the other two health bastions sit. Take away the bedrock of sleep or weaken it just a little, and careful eating or physical exercise become less than effective. End quote. How about that? Do you want your careful eating and physical exercise to become less than effective? I don't. I want to get all the value out of them that I can. I don't want to unknowingly shortchange myself out of the benefits that should be mine. How non-negotiable sleep is among all animals is super interesting. Like, if a bird sleeps alone, it will sleep with one eye open and let only half of its brain sleep. But if a bunch of birds sleep in a row, the ones on the end sleep with one eye open, the ones in the middle with both eyes closed. Then midway through their sleep session, the ones on the end turn around on their perch and sleep with the other eye open to let the other half of their brain sleep. What? Crazy. But all animals are evolved to function optimally only on optimal amounts of sleep. Matthew Walker says to violate millions of years of evolution at your own risk. Yes, we don't want to fall asleep at work or yawn when our boss is talking to us or veer off the road because we didn't get enough sleep. But other than that, isn't it kind of a nuisance? We'd be way more productive if we could use some of those hours getting stuff done. It's admirable to give up your sleep for something more worthwhile, right? Aren't people who sleep a lot kind of lazy? That's what society would have us believe to a certain degree, that a full night of sleep is for lazy people or boring people. It's definitely common to think that staying up late scrolling or watching Netflix or chatting or clearing out your inbox is no big deal. If you remember, one of my favorite quotes, I've repeated it more than once now, is from Krishnamurti, who says, "It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." That so applies here. Why? If 5 to 6 hours in bed is enough to get by without falling asleep at work, yawning when your boss is talking to you, or veering off the road, what does it matter? As it turns out, quite a lot. Like a jumbo huge amount. Joseph Kosman says, the best bridge between despair and hope is a good night of sleep. Pretty true, right? Research shows that chronic insufficient sleep is associated with the development of Alzheimer's disease, and prioritizing sleep has been scientifically proven to lower your Alzheimer's risk. Insufficient sleep increases our risk of developing cancer and mood disorders. Interestingly, according to Matthew Walker, insufficient sleep doesn't just put you in a chronically negative mood and hold it there. Rather, the underslept brain swings excessively to both extremes of emotional variance. So you're less zen or even keel when you haven't gotten enough sleep. Have you felt that before? I know I have. I'm much less flusterable when I've slept well. Dr. Eve Van Cotter, PhD, calls sleep deprivation the royal route to obesity. Wow. Sleep deprivation decreases your insulin sensitivity, disrupts your hormone cycles, and depresses your brain function. Dr. William Dement, chairman of the National Commission on Sleep Disorder Research, says, the national sleep debt is larger and more important than the national financial debt. That's pretty significant. Are you a contributor to the deficit? You might be, even if you think you're not. And if you are, you're not the person that you could be. And the country is missing out on the chance to benefit from your awesomeness. Hey there, just a quick interruption to say I think the jury's still kind of out on how bad and in what way it's really bad to put aluminum on your skin, but it doesn't seem great, and I figured, why not avoid it? Well, because all of the aluminum-free deodorants I ever tried didn't work. Until I tried Lume. This is the first aluminum-free deodorant I ever tried that actually worked. I was instantly converted. Then, over time, I discovered that the answer to my whole family's itchy skin after every shower problem is Lume's acidified body wash. It's awesome, and their acidified body butter keeps our skin soft and hydrated. They even have a laundry product that makes your clothes smell great. I can't say enough good about Lume. Plus, their commercials are hilarious. You should watch one on YouTube if you haven't seen one yet. If you want to give Lume a try, there's a link in the show notes that will give you $5 off your order. My favorite is the Pink Peony Body Wash. It smells like washing yourself with bubble gum, which I wouldn't recommend, but I do recommend Lume. Okay, back to the show. I have a grundle of fabulous quotes from people who are way smarter than I am and say it way better than I could. I hope you benefit from them. Here's one from Sean Stevenson in his book, Sleep Smarter. The consequences of sleep deprivation aren't pretty. Try immune system failure, diabetes, cancer, obesity, depression, and memory loss, to name just a few. Most people don't realize that their continuous sleep problems are also a catalyst for the diseases and appearance issues that they're struggling with. Studies have shown that just one single night of sleep deprivation can make you as insulin resistant as a type 2 diabetic. This translates directly to aging faster, decreased libido, and storing more body fat than you want. Now stretch that over weeks, months, even years, and you can start to see why lack of sleep can be such a huge problem. End quote. Here's something fascinating that I learned from Matthew Walker's masterclass and book. I had heard some of this stuff here and there and figured it didn't really apply to me because I like to sleep. I feel like I'm good at it for the most part. And I don't pull all-nighters or stay up till 2 a.m. or anything like that. Surely that's what they mean by being underslept, right? Getting by on 2 or 3 hours of sleep regularly? Well, he talks about a big sleep experiment that is done on 1.5 billion people every year. You've probably been a part of this experiment. It's called daylight savings time. When we all lose an hour of sleep opportunity every March, careful examination of hospital records shows that there is what he calls a frightening spike in heart attacks and traffic accidents the following day. That really struck me because 1 hour on one single night? Really? That's like one TV show episode. Doesn't seem that significant. But it is. And in October, there's one day when the rates of heart attacks and traffic accidents plummet. You guessed it. When we fall back and have an extra hour of sleep opportunity, we function better. We die less. 1 hour on one single night makes a difference. So, in thinking through our different pillars of health, here's another long quote from Matthew Walker. A balanced diet and exercise are of vital importance, yes. But we now see sleep as the preeminent force in this health trinity. The physical and mental impairments caused by one night of bad sleep dwarf those caused by an equivalent absence of food or exercise. It's difficult to imagine any other state, natural or medically manipulated, that affords a more powerful redressing of physical and mental health at every level of analysis. Based on a rich, new scientific understanding of sleep, we no longer have to ask what sleep is good for. Instead, we are now forced to wonder whether there are any biological functions that do not benefit from a good night's sleep. So far, the results of thousands of studies insist that no, there aren't. Emerging from this research renaissance is an unequivocal message. Sleep is the single most effective thing we can do to reset our brain and body health every day. End quote. I hate being salesy, which I mentally equate with being sleazy or, used car salesman-ish. This is a problem in my life, but I do hope I'm selling you on this well enough. I think most people kind of know that sleep is important, but they don't know how vital it is and how little sleep lost actually still has big ramifications. How much of a difference a few more minutes of sleep can make. Do you know how much sleep you should be getting? Everyone's a little bit different, but according to Dr. James B. Moss, PhD, who is a big-time sleep researcher and high-performance authority, 10 hours a night is required for optimal performance. I know I've always thought that 8 is the goal, so 10 seems a little crazy. I know there are plenty of professional athletes who do get 10 hours of sleep every night, and that's why they're able to dominate their profession. But for everyone? According to Dr. Moss, yes, but only if you want to function optimally. Here's a quote from him. Before Thomas Edison's invention of the electric light in 1879, most people slept 10 hours each night. A duration we've just recently discovered is ideal for optimal performance. When activity no longer was limited by the day's natural light, sleep habits changed. Over the next century, we gradually reduced our total nightly sleep time by 20% to 8 hours a night. But that's not nearly the end of the story. Recent studies indicate that Americans now average 7 hours a night, approximately 2.5 hours less than the ideal. Amazingly and foolishly, 1/3 of our population is sleeping less than 6 hours a night. Are we losing our minds? End quote. Matthew Walker says that the recommendation is 7 to 9 hours. And I love this. He says that a lot of people claim they can get by on less than 7 hours of sleep just fine. He says there's a gene that allows some people to do so, and the odds that you fall into that category are so low that it is far, far more likely that you will be struck by lightning than to be truly capable of functioning well on less than 7 hours of sleep at night. The lifetime odds are less than 1 in 12,000. So if you round those odds to the nearest whole number, your likelihood of thriving on less than 7 hours of sleep are 0. We won't spend a ton of time on it, although we could, but your sleep time is not just the time you spend in bed. We have a sleep efficiency. Some of the time we're in bed, we're not asleep. The average sleep efficiency is supposedly 85%. So if you think you're doing well because you're in bed for 7 hours, most likely you're only asleep for 5 hours and 57 minutes. You can track this with sleep trackers like an Oura Ring. I love mine, but you should probably be in bed for 8 hours plus. What do you think? What do you usually do that keeps you awake when it should be bedtime? Is it more important than creating a stable foundation upon which your other pillars of health stand? Do you want to be entertained or optimized? How much do you sleep now? Could you increase that? Are you starting to see the benefits of doing so are huge? If it seems crazy to you, you don't have to jump right to 10 hours, but good for you if you can. I'm not quite there yet. If you were to get an extra 15 minutes of sleep a night, that would be 7.5 extra hours of sleep in a month. That's a big deal. What would you have to do differently to be able to go to sleep 15 minutes earlier tonight? Here's another great quote. This one is from James B. Moss again. Do you want to be alert, dynamic, and full of energy all day long? be in a good mood, be productive, creative, and capable of making good decisions, be able to express yourself well, have good concentration and memory, not be unduly susceptible to disease and viral infection? In general, do you want a chance at optimal living? If so, you'll need to get optimal sleep, the amount and quality of sleep that allows you to function throughout the day without feeling drowsy. Without optimal sleep, you don't stand a chance of reaching your potential. With optimal sleep, you'll be amazed at what you can do with your newfound life. End quote. Pretty strong words. Without optimal sleep, you don't stand a chance of reaching your potential. Ouch. Sean Stevenson says this: always remember the value of your sleep. You will perform better, make better decisions, and have a better body when you get the sleep you require. Sleep is not an obstacle we need to go around. It's a natural state your body requires to boost your hormone function, heal your muscles, tissues, and organs, and make your mind work at its optimal level. The shortcut to success is not made by bypassing dreamland. You will factually work better, be more efficient, and get more stuff done when you're properly rested. There's a big difference between working and actually being effective. By sacrificing your sleep, you can definitely do more work, but the quality and effectiveness of your work will be sacrificed. A physician study published in The Lancet proved that sleep-deprived individuals took 14% longer to complete a task and made 20% more errors than individuals who are well-rested. Structure your time to get more sleep first, and you'll be able to get your work done faster and more effectively than if you zombie walked your way through it. End quote. I think it's so true, and that most people who are zombie walking their way through their work and their life don't even know they're zombies. Do actual zombies know that they're zombies? I guess they do. I once watched a TV series with the actress from A Christmas Prince. You know that Netflix series where she became a princess? But in this show, she was a zombie. And she knew she was a zombie. She very logically got a job working in a morgue so she could have easy access to brains. So I guess that settles it. Zombies know they're zombies, but underslept people usually don't know that they're underslept, or that they could be so much more effective, efficient, and accurate if they were to prioritize getting a little more sleep. James Moss talks about that in his book. He calls it baseline resetting. Remember, he's the guy that says 10 hours a night is the optimal. He says people who don't get enough sleep acclimate to their impaired performance, and that low energy state becomes their accepted norm. They have no idea that their mental aptitude and physical vitality are compromised, or that their slow accumulation of ill health is caused by missed sleep. He says, quote, based on epidemiological studies of average sleep time, millions of individuals unwittingly spend years of their life in suboptimal states of psychological and physiological functioning, never maximizing their potential of mind or body due to their blind persistence on sleeping too little. End quote. The 1/3 of your life you spend sleeping has profound effects on the other 2/3 of your life. We're conditioned to believe that our value comes from our productivity and that it's honorable to burn the candle at both ends in order to check off more to-do items. But what we're missing is how much more quickly we could check off those items and how much better they would get done if we were operating from an ideal psychological and physiological state. It's like the old Stephen Covey metaphor of sharpening the saw. If you say you're too busy cutting down a tree and don't have time to stop and sharpen your saw, it will take you way longer and be a lot more unpleasant. The few minutes you spend sharpening the saw are returned to you many, many times over in efficiency, effectiveness, and ease of work. Have you been keeping track of all the good things I've mentioned that sleep does? I have, and it's not even an exhaustive list. There are all kinds of rigorously controlled scientific studies on college students that show that you're far less likely to get sick from a cold if you sleep just 1 hour more a night. And epidemiologic studies about cancer and Alzheimer's and heart disease, even skin aesthetics. So, here we go. Adequate sleep provides mood enhancement, energy, alertness, body weight optimization, improved perception, memory, thinking, reaction time, productivity, accuracy, physical performance, communication skills, creativity, safety, longevity, immunity, healthy gastrointestinal functioning, beauty, prevention of chronic disease, decreased risk of cardiovascular disease, decreased risk of cancer, decreased risk of Alzheimer's disease, decreased dementia, decreased risk of traffic accidents, decreased heart attacks, decreased strokes, proper release and utilization of hormones, decreased food cravings, improved blood glucose control, decreased depression, decreased anxiety, and increased likelihood of becoming superhuman. Okay, I added that last one, but the rest have all been scientifically proven. I could go on and on and on. I really hope I've driven home my points that sleep is a panacea and it's absolutely essential if you want to be your best self. That most people don't get enough and that they don't even know that they don't get enough. They don't even know what a higher level they could be playing at, what they would be capable of if only they got optimal sleep. I'm not sure why society as a whole is so resistant to getting optimal sleep, but what I do know is that what makes a person exceptional is their willingness to do what other people aren't willing to do. It's the key to unlocking excellence, and it's kind of hilarious to me that this master key is to sleep a little bit better. It seems like it should be Navy SEAL Hell Week type drills, or a 5-year silent meditation retreat, or taking a vow of poverty or something. But sleeping a little bit longer, that's the thing? Yep. Say no to the autoplaying of the next episode. Turn off all your electronics and change your life. If you could use some helpful tips and some personal accountability changing your life for the better to see what you're capable of, that's what I do in my Health Courage Collective program. I would love to see you in there. I still have a ton of information on how to tell whether you're sleeping enough and how to improve your sleep quality and quantity, so if that's something that would be helpful to you, click the link in the show notes for your episode suggestion and suggest that I do an episode on that. I'd be happy to. There are so many good suggestions and good quotes from these sleep experts. Based on just their quotes, I could have named this episode "Violate Millions of Years of Evolution at Your Own Risk," "Your Only Chance at Optimal Living," "The Most Glaring Omission in the Contemporary Health Conversation," "The Royal Route to Obesity. Without this, you don't stand a chance of reaching your potential," or "The Greatest Public Health Challenge of the 21st Century." That's from a quote by James B. Moss, who says, quote, "This silent sleep loss epidemic is the greatest public health challenge we face in the 21st century in developed nations. If we wish to avoid the suffocating effects of sleep neglect, the premature death it inflicts, and the sickening health it invites, a radical shift in our personal, cultural, professional, and societal appreciation of sleep must occur." End quote. Thank you so much for being here today. We'll end today with a great quote from Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep. "Amazing breakthrough! Scientists have discovered a revolutionary new treatment that makes you live longer. It enhances your memory and makes you more creative. It makes you look more attractive. It keeps you slim and lowers food cravings. It protects you from cancer and dementia. It wards off colds and the flu. It lowers your risk of heart attacks and strokes, not to mention diabetes. You'll even feel happier and less depressed, less anxious. Are you interested?" While it may seem hyperbolic, nothing about this fictitious advertisement would be inaccurate. If this were a drug, many people would be disbelieving. Those who were convinced would pay large sums of money for even the smallest dose. Should clinical trials back up the claims, which they do, share prices of the pharmaceutical company that invented the drug would skyrocket. Of course, the ad is not describing some miracle new tincture or cure-all wonder drug, but rather the proven benefits of a full night of sleep. The evidence supporting these claims have been documented in more than 17,000 well-scrutinized and scientific reports to date. As for the prescription cost, well, there isn't one. It's free. Yet all too often we shun the nightly invitations to receive our full dose of this all-natural remedy, with terrible consequences. Failed by the lack of public education, most of us do not realize how remarkable a panacea sleep truly is. End quote. Next week, we're going to talk about shopping for a new outfit. Until then, enhance every biological function by building a solid base to reliably support your other pillars of health. And don't be normal. Thank you so much for tuning into the Health Courage Collective podcast. I am truly honored that you have paid me the enormous compliment of your time and attention. I would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with someone you know and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.